Not 1, not 2, not 7, not 9, but 10 reasons why the Dream Class ships are not as good as the classic ships. What is up, Disney cruisers? Are you in a great mood? I'm in a great mood. I just got off of a Disney ship last week and I loved it. As always, it was the best ever. If you are a Disney cruiser, then give me a like down below so we know that you're here. And if you have just found us, then hit that subscribe button so you can see my face pop up on your newsfeed. I have posted videos about why the Dream is better than the Fantasy and why the Fantasy is better than the Dream. And like just with those videos, I'm going to do the same with this video and say that I am not going to say what ship is best overall. I'm going to compare the Dream Class, which are the Dream and the Fantasy ships, with the classic ships, so the Wonder and the Magic. So I'm going to go through and tell you the things that I think are better on the classic ships, what they get right, what I love about them, as opposed to how they are on the Dream Class ships. So I'm doing a comparison of the two classes, but it doesn't mean that I do not like the Dream Class ships. I love the Dream Class ships, but I like these certain things on the classic ships better than on the Dream Class ships. The first one is fairly obvious and is what most people talk about when they are comparing the ships. The size. Duh. They are smaller. The classic ships are smaller than the Dream Class ships. And one of the reasons why I like this is like what everyone says, when you go to Castaway, it's a noticeable difference. When you're on a classic ship and you stop at Castaway, you kind of are thinking like, why are half the people not on the island? Or you think, where is everybody? Why is nobody eating lunch when I'm eating? I'm eating lunch at lunchtime and no one's here. Why are there all these empty chairs around me? Are people just really walking around the island and not laying out on the beach? The answer is no. There's just not that many people on the ship, so there's not that many people on the island. The island was meant to hold all the passengers from the Dream Class ship, so obviously when there's less passengers on the ship than what the island can hold, it seems like it's empty. And it does. It seems like it's empty. The other place that's noticeable for the smaller size is when you are boarding the ship and debarking the ship. The second reason why the classic ships are better is because, yes, the Dream Class ships have nice flow to them and they're easy to get around, but the Magic and the Wonder just have these little like nooks and crannies that you can just discover and you randomly happen upon. On deck 6 in between the midship elevators, there's like a room for strollers and wheelchairs, and it's just a little room that you wouldn't even know existed if you weren't on deck 6 in the middle of the ship by the elevators. You turn random corners and there's chairs just sitting there for no reason that you can sit in. You'll turn a corner sometimes and just see a random bathroom there or an entrance to a hall that you don't even know where it goes. It does make navigating a little bit more tricky, but it's so cool. Like just to find random places, like it's so neat. And then the places that you can see on the running track on the classic ships, you can go all the way forward and see where the anchors are. I just think it's so cool to discover things on the classic ships, like taking a walk around them and just being surprised at all the things that you get to see. I love that about the classic ships. All right, the third thing goes for what my kids always say. They think that the kids' clubs feel larger. Now, I will say that they feel larger probably because, one, there's not as many rooms off to the side in the middle. Like in the kids club, they have like a central hub area and then there's little rooms all around the side of the Oceaneer lab, and then the same thing in the Oceaneer club. Well, on the classic ships, they have the center area and then there's only like there's 3 things off to the side in the lab and then like a dining area. And then the club has 3, maybe 4, 3. Has 3 areas off to its center hub. So there's not as many little rooms, but my kids feel like it's bigger because the rooms they do have are a little bit larger because there's not as many rooms. Also, there's no magic play floor that takes up in the middle of the space. So they have a larger area to do different games. And then for another reason, which I have not told them yet, is that they feel larger because there's less kids, because there's less people on the ship. So my kids really enjoy the kids clubs on the classic ships better than the Dream Class ships, just because they feel like they're more special and they're kind of like they really are a part of a club that not many people are in, and their space seems really big to them. I also do really like the hallway that connects the lab and the club on the classic ships. I think it's so cute, and they can like see out in the atrium, and like you could even like see your kids walking through. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. And they make the carpet look like wood plank.
Oh, I love it so much.
All right, number 4. Less people means that they don't need as much room in the dining room, so the main dining rooms are considerably smaller on the classic ships, like way smaller on the classic ships. But I also feel like this makes it quiet. Less people, less movement of glasses and plates and silverware. I never feel like I have to shout to have a conversation with my family. The quietness I also found in other places, like on the pool deck, during activities, in the atrium when they do like group things, like if you're there for like Halloween or Christmas or the See You Real Soon part, like all these things that they do in the atrium, that's quieter. So it helps me to relax more because there's not as much noise all the time. All right, the fifth reason I absolutely love, and I know it will differ depending on whenever you go or, you know, which ship and stuff like that and what crew they have working. But on the classic ships, because it's smaller and there's not as many people that will come bombard the characters, they have characters walking around all the time. Like all the time you will run into characters. They also have meet and greets scheduled that you can go greet the characters like in the atrium or wherever. And even then, because there's less people, the lines are shorter, but they still offer the same amount of meet and greets. Like characters are meeting all day long. They'll have some characters, like one day a certain character will meet in the morning, and then the next day they'll have that character meet in the afternoon. So like if you really can't go in mornings, then you have an opportunity to meet that character in the afternoon. Seriously, the characters walk around all the time, everywhere. You can stop them, talk to them, take pictures with them, have them sign things. They'll dance with you. They'll do certain poses. Like they just, like, it's crazy. It's crazy how much they do. Just this last cruise, Captain Hook was walking around with 2 crew members. No one was really even paying attention to them. And he was like having a conversation trying to get one of the crew members to go out and walk the plank. And he was like having this little thing with the other crew member trying to get one to stay out on the deck and walk the plank and like lock her out of the ship. And they were just doing this. Like, and you could watch and kids were watching, and like then you could just like say hi and wave to them or like play along with them, like talking about having the other crew member walk the plank. Like it's just like everywhere you went, like we came out to go down the stairs and Tiana was just standing there by the stairs, like for no reason. She's just standing there. Like, I love how much the characters walk around on the classic ships, but they can't do that on the larger ships. I mean, every now and then they do that, but it's mostly, and I hate to say this because I know people have like favorite characters, but it's mostly the characters that aren't everyone's favorite. Like Chip and Dale walk around on the Dream class, Stitch walks around on the Dream class, but you don't get like the main characters, princesses. They don't really walk around as much because it would just be too like crowd control. You couldn't do it. There's too many people. But everyone walks around on classic ships. It's amazing. Another one that has to do with kids is the area for them on the pool deck, I think, is better on the classic ships. The classic ships do not have the aqueduct, but they have a twist and spout slide, and that's like 4 times as long as the Mickey hand slide on the Dream class ships. And also in that area, right when they get off of that slide, that's where the kids' splash area is. On the Fantasy, it's like way back behind the funnel. Like there's no other reason to be over there unless your kid's in the splash zone. But on the classic ships, you have the twist and spout slide, the splash area, and a little like kid-sized pool that's not very deep. And also in that area is the little kid area, like the baby, the toddler area. So you can sit down and watch your kids do all 3 things. It's all right there in one spot. But on the Dream class ships, one is on seriously one side of the ship and the other is seriously on the other side of the ship. So like if you want your family to all be together, you can't. But on the classic ships, you can. And it is so much more relaxing and comforting knowing that I can sit down and chill while my kids can literally do everything they want to do in that one area. The 7th thing, yes, the elevators are smaller on these ships, but they're definitely not as crowded because there's not as many people using them. So there's hardly any time where you have to wait a long time for an elevator. There are the occasional families who don't like following customary niceness rules and they'll cut you off for no reason and then you have to wait on another elevator. Sometimes we choose to wait on another elevator because they're smaller, so we just wait because we know the next one's going to be empty. But it's not so much a free-for-all hit people on your way to the elevator so your family can get on it sort of thing. So it doesn't really seem like it would be a huge issue, but it does help enhance your overall cruising experience. Number 8, I think to make up for the lack of newness of the ship or technology or whatever, I don't know, they have more interactive dining, more entertainment style dining on the classic ships, and I love it. You have Rapunzel's and Tiana's. Also in Animator's Palette on both ships, they do the coolest show. Like, I don't want to say anything. Part of my focus of this channel is to tell you certain things that will help you, but not necessarily like show you all the surprises because I want them to be surprises for you. So I don't want to tell you the show, but Animator's Palette on the classic ships is by far better than on the Dream class ships. By far. It is amazing. Now, in Tritons and Lumieres, like the French-based Princessy Royal ones, they don't really do anything in those. On the classic ships, they don't do anything on those on the Dream class ships either. But your other dining rotation rooms are spectacular. They're just more interactive, more entertaining. My kids love it the entire time. There's something to look at and do the whole time. They're just phenomenal. All right, number 9 has to do with the adult areas. There are more adult areas on the Dream Class ships, but that's because they make the other areas smaller. The classic ships have some kind of adult-only lounge, like it was either Cadillac or Keys Lounge, so like a piano lounge. They have the gathering space where they do all their adult shows, and then they have a pub. The pub on the classic ships is amazing. I love the pubs on the classic ships. They have more space. It looks like a place you want to be and not just like an afterthought of an area. They have food in them. They have a lot more tables for groups to sit down. They have a ton more TVs. They have games out the whole time. They have tables that are actually conducive for playing games. Whereas on the Dream Class ships, I think they're too small and in awkward places, and the chairs don't line up with the tables. I just don't like them on the Dream Class ships. The pub on the classic ship is awesome. And I think the area where they do their main gathering is much better on the classic ships, because instead of it being like a long, skinny rectangle almost, like it's more of a rectangular shaped room, on the classic ships, it's a big round room so you can see from everywhere and there's comfortable seating everywhere. And they're just so pretty. I just love the theming better. Even the walkways walking back to the adult area on the classic ships is better. They have really comfy portholes on the way to them, and the decorations are lovely. The decor, they're so much better on the classic ships, my opinion. Number 10 has to do with the veranda. The verandas are maybe smaller a little bit on the classic ships, but the walls are more like walls, and you can't see around them. You can't see your neighbor's light from around the corner like you can on the Dream Class ships. They just seem more private for some reason. Like maybe the wall goes out further, but you can still see, or I don't know, or like I have no idea. I have no idea why they seem more private. There's got to be something to it, but they seem a ton more private on the classic ships, and I love that. It feels like you really are in your own little space. Whereas on the Dream Class ships, for some reason, like I still know that there's people to my left and right. Like I still know that there's people there and they could be out there. So these are the reasons why I like the classic ships better than the Dream Class ships. My opinion, my thoughts, my reasonings. I think they're all right, but they're still my thoughts. So if you disagree with me, that's cool. A lot of people don't want to go on the classic ships because they're older, or they don't go to all the destinations they want to go to, or they're not as easy to get to. They're smaller, but there are so many cool things about the classic ships that you will fall in love with, and then when you go on the Dream Class ships, you will miss them. You will miss the things on the classic ships. Thank you so much for watching this video, cruisers. If you haven't perused my channel yet, then go ahead. I have a ton of videos over there that will help you plan your Disney cruise vacation. Thank you so much. Until next time, I'll see you later, cruisers. Bye!